I, yes, I am excited tonight for this conversation. It occurred to me that because we have been doing metaphysical interpretation, that this conversation is going to land better this time than if I had done it and we had not been doing the work that we've been doing. So thank you for being here. We're going to take a pause on Proverbs 3. We're going to work from Wisdom for a Lifetime. Now, there's a newer version of Wisdom for a Lifetime that is available, but I don't have it. So I'm working from this one. And the email that I sent out has the link so you can download the chapter. And I recommend getting the book. It's a really accessible read. It's very interesting. He has a very easy writing style, and it's just an excellent book to have in your library. I also have to say thank you. I've got thank you cards that are like in the queue, on their way. But I got a gift, a completely unexpected gift from someone that I don't know. And it is an interlinear Bible, the Hebrew, the Greek, and the English. And I'm blown away. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. Like, I'm so happy to like dig into it. And so it said TKR. I don't even know who that is. So just thank you. The gift is, whoever it was had my home address. So it's gotta be safe. So, but I just want to say thank you. I will treasure this. I will 100% treasure this. So thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Any questions from anything that we've done before we dive into tonight's conversation? I will let you know also next Thursday, you guys have a really special treat. So as you know, I wear the hat of financial professional. I can say financial advisor once my exam is complete, and I have that license, but financial professional. And we have a retirement workshop next Thursday night. So my brother in the ministry, the Reverend Gaylon McDowell, has agreed to come and talk to you guys. And those of you that have had a class with him, you know that he is phenomenal. You're going to get some personal time with the hardcore metaphysician. So definitely be here next week. And then we're going to have a break July 1st. And then we'll pick back up July 8th. So we'll have a 1 week break on basically the 4th of July weekend. It's going to take a long weekend. All right. If you have the handout, and I'm going to pull it up. I think I'm going to pull it up. If you have the handout ready, we're just going to start sort of at the top. It's taking a minute to. So this chapter explains the process that we've been going through, and it gives a little bit more information and context. And the reason that I wanted to take a pause from Proverbs 3 and come do this is because I wanted to make sure that you have an understanding of what words do I look up. Now, in truth, you can look up every word, but you'd be on one verse for an entire month. So if you have to pick and choose, what words do you pick? And then how do you take what Fillmore has in the Revealing Word and in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary and turn that into a definition that you substitute back into the scripture? So he writes, Wisdom for a Lifetime also could have been subtitled A Metaphysical Christian's Guide to Bible Study. You likely consider yourself to be metaphysically oriented, have read some books on the subject, or have attended a class, program, or workshop presented by a metaphysical speaker. If you are like most metaphysical people, you have an almost insatiable appetite for spiritual knowledge. However, in all likelihood, the spiritual insights you have attained may not have had much in the way of a biblical element. And so this book is about filling that. So he goes on, I'm going to skip down a little bit, defining metaphysical. So the word metaphysical is one that evokes a variety of responses. Some people view this word with suspicion or puzzlement. It could be that they have heard hardline ministers preach tirades against dabbling in metaphysical studies, usually calling it the work of the devil. To others, metaphysical is a word shrouded in mystery and not a part of one's everyday vocabulary. However, there is an increasing acceptance of metaphysical subjects among the general public. Major booksellers regularly stock popular metaphysical books. Computer online services have established folders or forums for metaphysical discussion. Nationally broadcast television shows interviewed metaphysical authors. Metaphysics is no longer a verboten subject in our society. So what makes the metaphysical perspective unique? So this is his analogy, and then I'm going to speak a little bit about it. He says, consider the many utility services connected to your household. If, for instance, you neglect to pay your cable TV bill, your service will likely be turned off. Gone are your favorite channels and programs. Reconnection requires the payment of the fees due. When the financial requirements are met, the service is restored, and once again, you can enjoy the benefits of cable television. There is a similarity between utility service and our relationship with God. In the beginning, our souls began their sojourn as offspring of the divine creator. However, difficult life circumstances, an erroneous belief in a primordial unworthiness, and other misconceptions led many to feel isolated from the supreme being. We became temporarily disconnected from God, forgetful of our spiritual heritage. Something had to be done to redeem humanity from its fallen state, to reestablish a link between God and his most prized possession. Religion became the answer. By following the dictates of the prevailing religion, one could be reasonably assured of spiritual reconnection. From Genesis to Revelation, the theme of redemption pervades the entire Bible. I'm going to switch my share for a second. So one of what we call one of the antecedents to New Thought. So there's a book by Tom Shepard. Yeah, Tom Shepard, I think is his name. Tom Shepard, called Friends in High Places. And in that, he identifies Origin as one of the antecedents, or this through line. I think I shared with you, I said that there's this through line of metaphysical thinking about the Bible that's been traveling through time. And in traveling through time, it lands in the laps of different groups of people through time. We're that group of people in this season of the evolution of that idea. One of the things that Origin is famous for saying is that the Bible is threefold in nature. That, like us, it is spirit, it is soul, and it is body. And so as body, it is a book of laws. It is a book of history. As soul, it is a book of laws and moral teachings. But as spirit, it is a book of the mysteries of being. And so metaphysics is about tapping into this aspect of the Bible. And so one of the things that is key when you're doing metaphysical Bible interpretation is that you are not concerned with whether the story happened. Did Jesus raise Lazarus? Not important for metaphysical interpretation. Was Jesus raised? Not important for metaphysical interpretation. Did Joshua stop the sun? Not important for metaphysical interpretation. One of the key things about metaphysical interpretation is that each person, place, or thing in Scripture represents an aspect of your being. So when you are watching the elements of a story play together, take the story of the woman with the issue of blood. The woman with the issue of blood is an aspect of your being. The Jesus character is an aspect of your being. The disciples are an aspect of your being. The crowds are an aspect of your being. The condition that she's dealing with is an aspect of your being. Every element in the story represents something in your consciousness. And so when you're looking at the story, you're looking at the interplay of your consciousness. And maybe that may help with trying to make sense of like, well, how did they come up with that metaphysical interpretation? Well, where did they get that? What metaphysics is meant to do is to reveal the mysteries of being. So let's talk about that for a second. So the mysteries of being. There is you that is located in your physical body. You are X amount of height tall, you're X amount of inches wide, X amount of pounds. You know, you've got these physical characteristics, skin tone, hair texture, eye color, all of these external things. But none of those things is you. All of those things are aspects of you, but none of them, if you took away any of those things, you would still be you. If you lost your eyes, you would still be you. If you lost your hands, you would still be you. There's a guy, Nick Vujicic, I may not be pronouncing his name right, but he has no arms and no legs. I don't know if you guys have seen him do motivational speaking, but he has the most amazing positive spirit. And I believe his condition was from birth. So from birth, he's had no arms and no legs, and he has managed to get around on just his torso. Get into chairs. He's got married. I think he has kids. So you, when we talk about the mysteries of being, what is this you that even if you took away your hands, even if you took away your eyes, your feet, even if you took away the vital aspects of you, that you could still emanate or breathe or express? What is that? And so when we talk about being, that's what we're speaking about. It's the mystery of that this aspect of you that essentially operates this meat suit. And at the same time, you feel things. If you pinch this meat suit, you're going to feel it. It's not like you don't feel it. So what is that? And so when we get into the spiritual aspect of the Bible, that's what we're looking at. What are the mysteries of it? How do you operate that? And so you go to the Bible metaphysically to get instructions on how to operate yourself as a spiritual being that inhabits a body, but is not confined to a body. Any questions on that? What did that raise for you? Any ahas? You've heard it all before.
This is Andra. No ahas, but I just am, it's interesting to hear it in that perspective. I'm new to when I say new, it's maybe a few years, but this is the first time I've ever had the opportunity to hear what metaphysical, kind of the breakdown of it and understanding the connection to it, to the Bible, in the way you just described it. So that's been very helpful. But one of the reasons why I think I've come in. I am in under the Unity umbrella that's through Charles Fillmore. So it's just been enlightening, just being able to hear, not take the Bible stories literally, but what does it interpret, and using that frame as the instruction to walk in my life. So that's been helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you. Anyone else? How's this landing with you? What is it awakening in you?
This is Robin.
Robin.
Hey, I think it's exciting to me because I like the idea of being able to unfold things that reveal more about me. So the point when you are making about that I am more than just my physical body, and that interpreting the Bible, looking at the spirit part can help me understand more about that so that I can reveal more of that. So it's very exciting, this journey that we're getting ready to take on. So
Yes, I agree. I agree. Anyone else? Okay, wonderful. I'll go back to the text. And y'all can't be quiet. We gotta talk. Because there's this kind of stuff. We gotta get all this stuff out so that we can grow and expand. So I'm gonna jump down a little bit. Metaphysically speaking, redemption is not so much a matter. I'm on the second paragraph on the second page of the handout I sent. Metaphysically speaking, redemption is not so much a matter of pleasing God through specific actions, but of simply changing one's mind or consciousness. That's a big one. Redemption is not about pleasing God, but simply of changing one's mind or consciousness. Why do you think that is?
That's basically why we're here, to change and to grow. So yeah, that's basically why we need to do that.
I think that it just sounds like the same definition of salvation without God involved. Like, okay, by changing your mind, you realize there's a fault, so you rectify it, which is the job of Christ. He came to rectify an original sin. So I think.
Robin, you were gonna say something?
no, he took my word, salvation. That's exactly what it made me think of, is that you are your own salvation, because you don't have to be redeemed by external. You can be redeemed by changing your mind, by aligning yourself with the Christ consciousness. So it's not about pleasing or not pleasing God, because God is.
Right. So all of you, those are wonderful answers. Yes. So I want to add to what you're saying. So save and then clear. Okay. So there is a definite way that God works. Everything begins as a center, and then it grows and expands from a center. Now, this is true whether we're talking about trees, puppies, plants, or human beings. They start at a center and they move out. So everything moves from center to circumference. So when you are working with an idea to bring that idea into expression, that idea is going to begin as a small center and then expand out. So then to redeem yourself with God is to work with God the way that God works. Everything is made from two things: everything is made from some male or plus some female. This is really bad handwriting with this pen. Sorry. Right? And then here you get offspring. And I'm choosing that word specifically as opposed to child because I don't want you to get caught up on gender, right? That it's everything is made the same way, meaning that there are always two elements that come together to produce an outcome. If you have an outcome, you must go back and look for the two elements that came together to create it. Everything is made the same way. Even the laws that govern movement through the air are the same, similar, and work in different ways, but the laws that govern movement on the earth. They have different names, and the two things that produce the outcome may be different. And so when we talk about redeeming yourself with God, and we say change your mind, that generally what is happening is that you are working against the things the way that they work. You're trying to start with the outcome as opposed to the idea. You're trying to get to the offspring, but you haven't put together the two things that actually produce the offspring that you desire. And so when we say change your mind, essentially what we're saying is stop fighting. That play, your arms are too short to box with God. Stop fighting the universe. Stop fighting things the way that they are. So that's when we say it's a matter of consciousness. You've got to shift. You've got to get your thinking in alignment with things the way that they work. Salvation then is also in the same way about thinking in alignment with things the way that they work. Thoughts?
So are we saying that redemption and salvation are distinctly different? Or are they now one and the same based on what we just said?
I think they can, I don't know if I would go so far as to say they're synonymous, but they right in the same ballpark.
Okay.
I would say they're right in the same ballpark. But all of it comes down to changing your mind.
Nice. So, okay, as long as we, okay, that's the end result. Okay.
Forgiveness is changing your mind.
Right.
You stop telling the story you were telling about the thing you were telling the story about.
So it doesn't resonate. Okay.
So there's only one problem and only one solution.
Okay.
And we have different words to help describe. I heard something, I don't know if it was in the video, that's Constance, right? I heard something, I don't know if it was in the video that I sent you, but it said there are only two kinds of people. Those who are in tune with God and those who are out of tune with God. It said, so are you moving in flow with the flow of spirit?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you swimming upstream? Bumping your head against the shore, thinking that life is unfair.
Reverend Sherri, I got in a class.
Say it again.
Class. I got into an advanced class because the first chapter was, are you part of the living dead or are you awake or alive? And I said, well, I need to get in that class to make sure that I'm alive and not the walking dead. So that's basically the same thing to me.
Yes, that's exactly it. Are you consciously creating your experience or are you unconsciously creating your experience?
Mm-hmm.
And metaphysics is about coming off of autopilot in an ideal way. I think there are a lot of metaphysicians that are running on autopilot. They just like what we say because they've been beat up by the traditional church. So they come hang out with us, but they still asleep. They just a little bit more awake than where they were a few minutes ago.
Because this requires work if you have to stay woke.
It really is. That's exactly it. It is a daily act to keep your eyes open, to not go back to sleep. It is a daily work, and you put in practices that support you in not going back to sleep. I want to jump down here. Let me show you where I am. Through the redemption of consciousness, one no longer perceives a division between God and humanity, but instead sees oneself as a direct and perfect expression of God. The spiritual character of humanity remains constant. Only individual awareness and perception change. And then he says, recall this scene from the Gospel of John when Jesus said, the Father and I are one. The Jews took up stones again to stone him. Jesus replied, I have shown you many good works from the Father. For which of these are you going to stone me? The Jews answered, it is not for a good work that we are going to stone you, but for blasphemy, because you, though only a human being, are making yourself God. Jesus answered, is it not written in your law? I said, you are gods, referencing Psalm 82:6. If those to whom the word of God came were called gods and the scripture cannot be annulled, can you say that the one whom the Father has sanctified and sent into the world is blaspheming because I said I am God's son? If I am doing the works of my Father, then do not believe. If I'm not doing the works of my Father, then don't believe me. But if I do them, even though you don't believe me, believe the works, so that you may know and understand that the Father is in me and I am in the Father. Then they tried to arrest him again, but he escaped from their hands. Glenda.
In reading this, one thing I realized going to Bible-based metaphysical churches, there are certain scriptures that are totally never taught in traditional churches. And this is one set of scriptures that is never, I have never heard that preached.
Yes. There's a song that I heard a friend saying, isn't it odd to think of yourself as anything other than God? Isn't it odd? It's a beautiful song. I want to skip ahead a little bit because you can go back and read this. I want to get to the meat of how we do this work. So what he goes through here is just re-explaining, summarizing, building the Bible study toolkit. So chapter 4, he goes over how you use the metaphysical, well, not how you use it, but what it is. The Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. Those next 3 books, Let There Be Light, Your Hope of Glory, Be Ye Transformed, are written by Elizabeth Sand Turner. She distilled Fillmore's work down into 3 volumes, and those are the 3. One of them is the Hebrew scriptures, and the other 2 are, Your Hope of Glory is for the Gospels, and Be Ye Transformed is for the letters and the epistles and Revelation. The Sermon on the Mount, which I believe is referencing Emmett Fox's book, which is anything from Emmett Fox is just awesome. Just add it to your library. If you see it, buy it. Just add it. Chapter 5, he explains like how all the different Bible translations is one of my favorite chapters, because if you were ever wondering like, well, how did the ASV come to be? How did the ESV and the NRSV and the NKJV? And he goes through and gives a very accessible explanation of how all of these different books versions of the Bible came about. Then chapter 6 is building out, your concordance, your dictionary, your commentary, your atlas, your handbook. And so it explains what they are. What I did with what we've been doing, I've been using the concordance, the commentary and notes from the Bible. I really haven't delved into the atlas because Proverbs doesn't matter so much for that. A Bible dictionary, I have one. I just got to find what shelf it's on. And a Bible handbook is like a smaller version of the commentary, but we only have a little time together, so I don't spend a lot of time doing that. In chapter 7, he explains how to use a concordance. So if you wanted some information on that, it's wonderful. Chapter 8, this is one of my favorite chapters also because he talks about the 9 interpretive lenses for looking at the Bible and realizing that everyone interprets the Bible. I know there are people that feel like they take it verbatim, but there is no such thing because there's no escaping your consciousness. So everyone interprets the Bible. So the 4-step process. So you'll recognize this because it's borrowed right from here, what I've been sending you every week. So the 4-step procedure, select, read, and study the scriptures. So you select the passage to be studied. You read the passages several times. Now, what I've had you do is read different versions because those different versions I found unlock different things. It helps you to see where maybe some of the discrepancies are, and it helps you understand like what words to maybe look up. Consult a Bible dictionary for general information on distinctive or unfamiliar words, which we've been doing that. Consult Bible commentaries and handbooks for historical and scholastic information on the biblical book, chapter, and verse. So that's the material that I've been giving you from the Anchor Bible commentary, from the Jewish Study Bible, from the the Oxford Annotated Bible. Consult a Bible atlas to determine the location of the biblical event. We haven't really done that because for this particular study with Proverbs, it doesn't matter as much. These stories are much more location independent. And then gain a basic understanding of the storyline. So one of the things I want to stop here for a second and explain this, gain a basic understanding of the storyline. This is a kind of a big one, or I should say big, but it matters. So there's a book, Pearl S. Buck. I don't have it. I mean, it must be upstairs. Pearl S. Buck wrote a book called Bible Stories or the Story Bible. It is an excellent, excellent book. And what she does in the book is that she goes through and writes the stories in present day English. And she has a whole history because she's American, but was raised in the East, in the Eastern culture. And so the Bible was very big in her household, but her dad insisted that they read it in Hebrew or something like that, or Greek or whatever. But basically she wasn't reading it in English. And when she read English translations of the story, she was just horrified at some of the choices that were made for the translation. And so she wrote the Story Bible to correct those errors and also to make it available to children. So the stories are, the idea is that you have this book and you could read it to your child. So I recommend getting a book like that, or when you're reading a story, it's helpful to add the Living Bible or what is it, Message Bible. So those are not really scholarly works in the sense that they're paraphrases, meaning some single person sat on a train, read the Bible, and then wrote it out like Cliff Notes. Those are not necessarily respected from an academic standpoint. But the value that I see in them is that when you're trying to grasp like what's happening in this story, like one of the stories that was a little bit hard to figure out what was going on was the story of Laban with his nephew Jacob. And when Jacob has basically bargained for Rachel, and then Laban tricks him and puts Leah in the marriage tent, and then he works another 7 years. And so it was like getting those story elements together. And so I could go back and look at Pearl S. Buck's story or the Living Bible or the Message Bible, and I could make the story elements make sense. Like they weren't you know, sometimes you get lost in the these and the thous and the those, and those particular, I can't even, they're not translations, they're called paraphrases. Those paraphrases are helpful for just getting the story beats down in a way that is helpful. And well, hold on. I know the author is Pearl S. Clark. I don't want to give you the wrong book. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mhm.
So you say that she was horrified by the original versions of the stories in the Bible, and so she made corrections.
No, no, no. She was horrified by reading what people were reading in English.
Okay.
And said, I've got to fix this, because she was reading, I want to say she was reading in the Hebrew, but it may be that she was reading, and she said, she explains it in the foreword. It may have been that she was reading in the Greek, but the point is she wasn't reading this very flat English translation that is, you know, watered down.
Mhm. Okay.
She has a lot of books. I'm looking. The story, it is called the Story Bible. 72 major story sections of the Old and New Testament.
Okay.
And it's not too bad. Hardcover is $14.
The message is wonderful. And on, I don't know if it's Bible Gateway or the U version, it's actually audio as well. And so you can go to a particular section and then it can be read to you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Alita, you were going to say something?
No, I'm good now.
Okay, okay. All right, so I just put the link for the Story Bible in the chat. Okay. So step 2, identify the keywords and phrases. So this is where I think we run into challenges. So one of the hacks that I like is using truthunity.net. Truthunity.net is a wonderful place to go, because what Mark Hicks has done with Truth Unity is that he has hyperlinked every word in the scriptures that either appears in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary or appears in the Revealing Word. And so it's like a hack to know, well, which ones do I look up? Well, we know that the ones that are hyperlinked are the ones that are definitely in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, or definitely in the Revealing Word. But short of that, you want to look up any proper name. Hold on. You want to look up, you know, proper names, people, places, objects, animals, any verbs, any action words, movement, thought, feeling. You know, the feet represent understanding, spiritual understanding. So when Moses takes off his shoes, it is about his getting closer and opening up his spiritual understanding to perceive what it is that he is seeing with this bush that's burning without being consumed. Walking then is the movement of that understanding, right? Meaning that consciousness is changing. Every time a character changes location, it represents or symbolizes a change in consciousness. Every time a character moves, if you see a character move from Jerusalem to Bethlehem, that's a movement in consciousness, because the attitudes are different. And if you think about it, that makes sense even in modern day. You know, there are people who leave the South because their consciousness is expanded and they can't do it anymore. You know, that happened with the migration from 1915 to the early 1970s for African Americans in this country, where it was like, y'all can have this. I'm getting on the first thing smoking, because my consciousness has expanded and I can't do this anymore. I don't even know what they got up there, but it's got to be better than this. So every time a character changes places, there's a change in consciousness. You want to look at other words like or phrases that are descriptive of the scene. These are things that you look up. Another thing that you want to look up, numbers. Numbers mean something, proper names, and places. Places are very, very important. So these three are always on your list of things to look up. They're always on your list to look up. Any questions on this?
Question.
Yes.
You mentioned numbers. I'm a big numbers guy. Do you guys ever get into, well, don't mean you guys, but does this ever get into gematria and, getting the numerical values of the words, or do you just end at the alternative meanings of the words?
So, I don't know if I have this book immediately. I can put my hands on it. Hang on for 1 second. Hidden Mysteries of the Bible. I can put my hands. Oh no, here it is. So this book, Hidden Mystery of the Bible, Jack Ensign Addington. So I don't know a lot about numbers. And so it's not, the word you just said, I'm not even familiar with it. But I always stayed away from numbers because it was like numerology and, you add up the birth date. Like my birthday is May 25th. So it was like 5 + 2 + 5 plus, and I was like, okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
How to do that.
It's a kind of a rabbit hole in itself.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just kind of stayed away from it. But what biblical scholars have found is that there are certain numbers that repeat and they seem to mean something. So 3, like a triplet is always something that you see, like a trinity. And that's something that repeats. You also see couplets. Those are things that repeat. 12 is an important number. And so what he has in this book, chapters 3, 4, and 5, go over what's in a name. So it talks about just the name representing a state of consciousness, what's in a word, so helping you understand what words to look up, and then the mystery of numbers. And that's chapter 5. And so in that, he talks about, the mystical 7, that 7 is the mystical number most often used in Bible writings. By actual count, I found that the number 7 appears 494 times. It is used from the first chapter of Genesis through the 66 books of the Bible. We find it many times in the last book, Revelation. As you read the various references to 7, you soon see that the Bible itself is its own best interpreter. So this 7 keeps coming up. 6 is a number that appears often. The next most prevalent number in Bible numerology or numbers or whatever is 12. And 12 is always about spiritual fulfillment, spiritual completion. When Elijah comes to get Elisha is plowing the fields, but it says he's on the 12th row with the 12 oxen with the 12, like 12 3 times. It essentially like he's at a finishing point, right? Because 12 is spiritual completion. So these numbers repeat. So whenever you see a number, you always want to look up that number. And this, there probably are other sources, but this is the source that I was taught to go to get information on, numbers and how they impact or play into the scriptures.
Who's the author of that book again? That you just held up?
Jack, yeah, I'll put it, Jack Ensign. Ensign is ENSIGN Addington. I'll put it in the,
To give a shameless plug,
uh-huh.
on Sunday, starting on the 27th, that's the book we're going to be studying in Bible 2.
Shameless plug. Yes.
And John is an excellent teacher. We have a good time.
Yes, he is. John is wonderful.
Yeah, so we will be, because I'm here and there, because it's wonderful.
Yes, good.
Excuse me, Annette, do you have more information about that shameless plug in terms of Bible? You said Bible 2?
Yeah, Bible 2. Yes. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
If you go on our website and you look up classes, our classes start on June 27th. And we have classes, I think it's 12 weeks. Am I correct, Reverend Sherri? Sherri?
Yes.
Okay. It's 12 weeks, and we will be going through actually that book. That is our text for Bible 2.
Yes.
So when you say your church site, you're referring to the one shared
Up church.
Up church.
Yeah,
Okay,
I go to this church.
That's upchurch.org. Upchurch.org.
Okay, thank you.
And I just realized I have
Richmond,
something to
Virginia.
share with you guys. Let me see if I can pull it up.
All right.
I'll get to it. I'll make it the last thing. So hang on to the end. I got something
All
to
right.
share with you. Okay, good. All right, so it's open. Oh, you can't see that.
Reverend Sherri, while you're looking for that, while you're talking about Jack Addington and his books, he has a book, Your Needs Met, that is just fantastic as far as affirmations and any kind of situation you might be going through.
Beautiful.
And if you Google it online, you can get a free copy. And it's called Your Needs Met, M-E-T.
Yes.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
That's it. That's right.
Yes. And I'm reading something now by Tom Johnson that's called Create Your Life. It is good. Create your own life, or something like that. He was, I didn't know who he was, but apparently he ran one of the CSL churches out, well, before it was CSL, but CSL churches out here in California, in the Los Angeles, West Hollywood area, whatever. So, but it's really good. It's really good. Okay, let's keep going. Good stuff. All right, so that is step 2. And that should help you with, when we're looking at the scripture, saying, I'm going to look up this word and not this word. Again, if you had all the time in the world, you look up every word, but that's not what we have right here. We've got to like pick and choose. Step number 3, you're going to consult the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. Thank God for Mark Hicks for putting that together on truthunity.net. For suggested interpretations of proper names, name places, and special words. For example, Adam, Jesus, Egypt, Nazareth, Logos, serpent, etc. You're going to consult an English dictionary such as Webster's. Now, he wrote this pre all the stuff we do on the internet. So all of this is stuff that you can go on the internet and get, with maybe the exception of Strong's Concordance. Maybe you can. It's a little tough, just because you don't get all of the stuff they give you in the actual book. But Blue Letter Bible is a good resource. So this is truthunity.net. Go here for that, and that will give you the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. You can go to dictionary.com, or you can go to Merriam-Webster. I think it's Merriam. I think that's how I do it. I think they spell it different. I think they do M-W now. The Strong's Concordance, you can go to blueletterbible.org. Again, you won't get all the meat stuff, but you can get a lot of good stuff. And then he says, consider how the words represent states of consciousness. So doubt, faith, love, praise, temptation. So those are all, online places that you can go to. Now, step 4. So I split up step 4 into 2 steps. And so I have where you insert it back in, and then step 5 where you look for the meaning. But step 4 is study, pray, and meditate on the overall study and the individual words interpreted in step 3. Consult metaphysical interpretation books that interpret the selected passages. So I don't tend to do that because I want to know what God has to say to me, but that is valuable to go back to Elizabeth Sand Turner or again on truthunity.net. There's a lot of, like, if you just look up Bible passages, I don't know if these are from correspondence courses or what, but the people who study with Fillmore or studied in the Unity system, they had their lesson notes from the classes that they taught. And Mark has been uploading them. So you can go back and find an interpretation of the scriptures from like 1925, from 1915. Like it's amazing because Unity has done a really remarkable job with their archives. So in terms of consulting metaphysical interpretation books, so those are, I would again throw out, truthunity.net, going and looking them up. And again, if you just put in, woman with the issue of blood, or even you put in the scripture, it'll bring it up in the search. And you'll get not just the Bible verse or the Bible the verse as it appears in the Bible, but you'll also get any supplemental material that deals with that particular Bible verse. Think about how these states of consciousness might correspond to events in your own life. So again, when we're looking at these stories and we say Rachel and Leah, or Jacob and Isaac, or Jacob and Esau, it's not that you're Jacob or Esau, you're Jacob and Esau. You're Rachel and Leah. And when the 4 of them are together, you all 4 of them. They're all different aspects of your being. So when we're talking about, think about how these states of consciousness might correspond to events in your own life. Because I brought it up, the story of Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. There's a point in the story where Rachel is just really feeling forlorn because she has wanted to have children. She is Jacob's beloved, but she can't give him a child. Meanwhile, her sister's just popping out babies, and it's like, okay, so, but we've all been that character where everyone else around us seems like they are having their fun. And we've been in that state of consciousness where we feel like we've been forgotten, Again, Leah, we've been that person where we've been envious. Like we've had a lot of stuff going on, but we've been envious because we wanted a particular outcome. I would say the affections, but I really want to get up the specifics of the story. We wanted a particular outcome and didn't get that outcome. We see other people getting that outcome and we feel envious of them getting that outcome. So again, we're each of these characters, all of them. We in the story of Jesus and Judas, we're Judas and Jesus. And we're watching these characters interplay and they're revealing something. So when you need to know, how do I address a problem? The answer is right there in the scriptures if you can tease it out through the metaphysics. You want to utilize the many interpretive lenses. So go back to that chapter where he talks about how to apply those lenses to the text, how to take a story and stand it on its feet, because that's what those lenses do. Comedians do that for us. They take, hard truths and they make them funny for us. But in making them funny, they help us see a different perspective. Think about how these states of consciousness might correspond to events in your own life. Healing of illness, conquering financial problems, dealing with persecution, feeling an overwhelming sense of joy. You want to explore common metaphysical themes like illumination, healing, prosperity, etc., as they might apply. And then you want to apply your own innate creative intelligence. Look at the story from many vantage points and perspectives. And then remember, the metaphysical interpretive lens has an allegorical, a psychological, and a spiritual dimension. And then ask yourself what jumps out at you in the passage. You know, when you click, what clicks in you when you read it. And so you're looking for the personal spiritual dimension that rises to the surface of your mind. And then you want to write down that interpretation as soon as it's revealed to you. So that's the 4 steps. And then he goes on to give a little bit more information. But I wanted to really just take some time with that tonight, because I want to make sure that when we're doing this, you don't feel, you can feel wobbly, like, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know who's on first, who's on second. I want to make sure y'all don't feel wobbly, that you feel like, okay, I got a good handle. I may not 100% know how to do it, but I know what to do. And if I know what to do, I can get better at doing it. Yes. Questions, ahas.
I just like that word you used at the end. You said the definition that rises to the top of your head. That's like the cream, the best stuff that rises to the top.
Yes, 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 yes. And I want you to get that there are as many metaphysical interpretations as there are people doing the interpretation. So this is not about getting it right, because again, you're going to the scripture for what it's going to reveal to you about you. And so the scripture is not going to give me anything about you. It's going to give me everything about me. Thoughts, comments? Does this feel more doable?
Well, I certainly like the walkthrough. So thank you for the handout of all the information. That's helpful.
Cool.
So yeah, to be able to see it laid out like that.
All right, wonderful. Well, next week you will have the Reverend Gaylon McDowell, and I am so excited for you guys. It's going to be remarkable. You're going to have a great time. He is the hardcore metaphysician. Yeah, that's my brother in the ministry. He's my prayer partner. And I know that you guys are in good hands. And I shall be putting on the hat of financial planner, telling people what to do with their retirement funds. So,
do we have to prepare for anything for next week?
So I'm going to find out if he has a handout. If he does, I'll send it out.
Okay.
Yeah, so the email will still go out as before. I do want to, I had this to share with you. So, oh wait, I guess I should set it up. So this past, oh gosh. We hired a branding company to help us brand Up Church. So Reverend Della chose the hot air balloon as the logo for the church, but no one ever developed like a balloon that was our balloon. So there was nothing, that we would just grab hot air balloons like off the internet, and use them as like our logo. And so we started this process. One of the things that the membership said that they wanted when we did our brainstorming at the end of last third quarter of 2020 was to look at our website. Our website is old. It needs some love. And so there's this company called Tech Church, and they reached out and said they do websites for churches, and we're like, show us what you do. And they had great websites, and we're like, okay, let's go. And they had a branding package because they asked us if we had a logo. And we're like, no. And they said, well, we can help you develop your logo. And so we met with them. We explained what our logo is. We shared what those concepts are, that what was behind choosing a hot air balloon versus something that's a traditional Christian symbol or whatever. And so this is the logo. So this is our logo.
Oh, cool.
And so this is the typeface that you'll see. We put an arrow on the U, which has grown on me. I didn't like that part at first, but I've gotten used to it. The fire represents your inner fire, right here, your inner fire. And the balloon is kind of tilted because it's taken off.
Nice.
It's nice.
It is
like that.
our logo now.
I love it.
Me too. Me too. I'm very, very excited about it. And this purple is our purple. So that is, and so what's next, what's coming is our website and also our app. So we will have an app for the phone that you'll be able to download and take us on the go. You'll be able to get the Bible Hangout. You'll be able to get the classes. You'll be able to like put in a prayer request. You'll be able to all on your iPhone or your Android, whatever phone you got, we got you.
Right now.
Yes,
That's exciting.
it is.
Very exciting to see
And
that
we
progress.
we're moving forward with the Church of the Future. So we have members everywhere across the planet.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, we are worldwide.
So this is a question totally unrelated because I'm on your website now.
Uh-huh.
But for your classes, are your classes in person or are they online?
So we're virtual. So we just took a vote on Sunday. Voting closes on Saturday. So if you remember, make sure you vote. Voting closes on Saturday. We're voting whether to remain virtual until we find a space that is a right space for us, go back to where we are for a short period of time and then take off, or go back and change nothing. And so we're, you know, those are the options that were presented to the people. And we'll see what happens. I don't know what the vote. I haven't looked at any of the entries because I just tell me on Saturday when it's done.
So the classes that start at the end of June, the Bible 2 class that was mentioned
Virtual.
earlier, that'll be virtual. Okay.
Yeah, everything is virtual.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, but I will tell you, everything we do is going to have a virtual component.
Okay.
And then what I'm working on, and this is future, but is freeing up my schedule so that I can do weekend trips to the places where our people are.
Oh, cool.
You know, and I have an idea I'm working on that's called my prosperity walk and talk. And I'll come in different cities and do the prosperity walk and talk where you are.
All right.
So.
All right, that's exciting. Definitely exciting.
Yes. Trying to change this planet one city at a time.
Okay. Great.
Yes. All right. Well, I love and appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tonight. Thank you. You'll be with Reverend Gaylon next week. We'll take a break on July 1st and we'll be back on July 8th.
Wonderful.
Right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Love you.
Love you too.